In a small coastal town nestled between rocky cliffs and sandy shores, there's a world where the unpredictable forces of nature shape the lives of its inhabitants, both human and animal alike. It was on one such stormy afternoon when a group of local fishermen, out on their daily rounds, spotted something strange near the edge of the rocks. Among the seaweed and debris washed ashore, there was a small, lifeless-looking form. Upon closer inspection, it was clear this wasn't just another piece of driftwood or sea garbage. It was a puppy, barely more than a few months old, struggling to breathe, his tiny body shaking with fear and pain. The puppy's fur was matted and soaked with sea water, and his eyes, though bright with distress, showed the raw vulnerability of one so young. His body was riddled with injuries that seemed to tell a tragic tale of survival against the unforgiving elements. As they carefully scooped the puppy up and brought him to safety, they noticed something else, something that sent a chill down their spines. The poor puppy had been injured by barnacles, sharp, spiky organisms that latch onto rocks, boats, and any other hard surface they can cling to. These barnacles, like tiny predators, had attached themselves to the puppy's skin and fur, digging deep into his flesh and causing open wounds that were beginning to show signs of infection. But that wasn't all. Upon closer inspection, it became evident that Max, as the puppy was soon named, was also carrying a burden much worse than the barnacles themselves, parasites. His fur was crawling with tiny, barely visible creatures, the kind that latch onto their host to feed off of their blood, further weakening Max and making him even more vulnerable. Max's condition was dire. The barnacles were causing excruciating pain as they continued to grow, embedded into his skin, making it difficult for him to move or even lie down without crying out in discomfort. The parasites that had invaded his body were also a major threat, draining his life force with each passing minute. The rescuers, who were deeply moved by the puppy's suffering, immediately contacted a local animal shelter. The team arrived as quickly as they could, their hearts heavy with the grim realization that they were about to face an uphill battle to save Max's life. At the shelter, the team worked tirelessly to remove the barnacles one by one. It was a slow and painful process, as each barnacle was firmly attached and needed to be carefully pried off to avoid causing more harm. As they did, the wounds beneath them were revealed, raw, oozing, and infected. The tiny body that had once been so full of energy and potential was now just a fragile shell, scarred and broken. It was clear that Max had been in the ocean for days, possibly even longer, and his body was showing the toll that time had taken. Still, the rescuers didn't give up. But while removing the barnacles was a major first step, there was still so much more to be done. Max's body was covered in parasites, tiny, almost invisible creatures that had made their home in his fur. They were feeding off of him, slowly draining his strength and making it even harder for him to recover. The shelter's veterinary team immediately began to work on eradicating the parasites, using a combination of medication, baths, and special treatments to remove them from Max's fur and skin. But this process wasn't quick, and Max's tiny, fragile body was overwhelmed by the constant onslaught of pain, discomfort, and infection. The next few days were filled with uncertainty. The veterinary team kept a close eye on Max, monitoring his temperature, administering fluids to keep him hydrated, and slowly introducing soft, nourishing foods to help him regain his strength. But it was still unclear whether the puppy would make it through. Max's body had suffered so much damage, and it wasn't certain if he would be able to overcome it. The medical team worked around the clock, doing everything they could to support his recovery. But even they couldn't help but feel a sense of dread, unsure of whether this little fighter would pull through. Despite the grim prognosis, something miraculous began to happen. Max, though weak and unable to move much at first, started to show signs of life. His eyes, once cloudy with pain and exhaustion, began to clear, and for the first time since his rescue, Max started to make eye contact with his caretakers. It was a subtle shift, but it gave everyone a glimmer of hope. As the days went on, Max's appetite slowly returned, and with each meal, he gained a little more strength. His body began to heal. The wounds from the barnacles started to close, and the parasites slowly disappeared. But more importantly, Max started to show a spark of his old personality. Curious, eager, and full of love. One of the shelter workers, a kind woman named Sarah, took a particular liking to Max. She would spend hours sitting with him, offering gentle words of encouragement and letting him rest in her lap as he recovered. Sarah had seen many injured animals come through the shelter, but there was something about Max's spirit that caught her attention. It was as if he knew that despite everything he had been through, he was still worthy of love and care. He had been through so much pain, but he was slowly learning to trust again. As the weeks passed, Max began to gain weight, and his once dull coat started to shine with health. His fur, once matted and full of debris, began to grow back thick and soft. He still had a long way to go, but each milestone brought him closer to full recovery. Max started to stand up, then walk, and before anyone knew it, he was running around the shelter, his tail wagging furiously with joy. The puppy who had been close to death on that cold beach was now full of energy and life. But it wasn't just the physical recovery that was astonishing. It was Max's emotional healing. Over time, he grew more affectionate, seeking out his human caretakers for attention and playtime. It was as if he had forgotten the pain he had endured, instead embracing the love and safety that surrounded him. He had learned to trust again, and with that trust came an incredible bond with those who had saved him. Max's recovery wasn't just a testament to the hard work of the shelter's staff. It was a testament to the resilience of the puppy himself. Against all odds, Max had fought through unimaginable pain, parasites, and infections, and he had emerged stronger than ever. His journey from being washed up on a beach, broken and weak, to becoming a healthy, happy, and playful puppy was nothing short of a miracle. And the most incredible part, Max was just getting started. Soon after, Max found his forever home with a loving family who had heard about his story and immediately fell in love with his spirit. They had always wanted a dog, but never expected to find one with such a remarkable story. Max, now full of life and joy, quickly adjusted to his new home, where he became an integral part of the family. He played in the yard, made new doggy friends, and cuddled with his new family members every night. The scars from his past, both physical and emotional, slowly faded as Max embraced his new life. His journey, which began in pain and suffering, ended in pure joy and love. Max had overcome the unimaginable. He had been healed by the love and care of the people who refused to give up on him. And in return, he became a beacon of hope to everyone who had followed his story. Max's recovery was not just a medical success. It was a testament to the incredible strength of animals and their ability to overcome the harshest of challenges when given the opportunity to heal. His story serves as a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always hope, and sometimes the most incredible transformations come from the most unlikely of places. Max's journey is one of many, but it's a story that continues to inspire everyone who hears it. A puppy that was once injured by barnacles and parasites, left alone to suffer in the harshest of conditions, found his way to safety, healing, and love. It's a story of survival, resilience, and the remarkable power of second chances.